More than 1,400 years ago, around the year 570 CE, the world was very different from today. Life was often harsh and unfair. Many people worshipped idols made of stone and wood. Tribal wars were common, and violence was part of daily life. Women had very few rights, and poor people were often treated badly. In this difficult time, a child was born who would later change history. This child was born in the city of Mecca, in western Arabia. His name was Muhammad, a name that means the praised one. He was born into the Banu Hashim family, which was part of the Quraysh tribe. His family was respected in Mecca, but they were not wealthy. Even before his birth, Muhammad faced hardship. His father, Abdullah, died before he was born, and Muhammad entered the world as an orphan. When Muhammad was 6 years old, his mother, Amina, passed away during a journey. After her death, he was taken into the care of his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, a respected leader in Mecca. His grandfather loved him deeply and protected him. However, this happiness did not last long. When Muhammad was 8 years old, his grandfather also died, leaving the young boy without parents once again. After that, Muhammad went to live with his uncle, Abu Talib. Abu Talib was kind and caring, but he was not rich. Even so, he treated Muhammad like his own son and always stood by him. As a child, Muhammad worked as a shepherd. This simple job taught him patience, responsibility, and care for others. He spent long hours alone, thinking quietly and observing the world around him. As Muhammad grew older, people in Mecca began to notice his character. He never lied, never cheated, and never broke a promise. He treated everyone with respect, whether they were rich or poor. Because of this, people trusted him deeply and gave him a special name, Al-Amin, which means the trustworthy one. In his youth, Muhammad worked as a merchant and traveled with trade caravans to places such as Syria. He was fair in business and honest in all his dealings. A successful businesswoman named Khadijah heard about his reputation and hired him to manage her trade. Muhammad worked with great honesty and returned with success. Khadijah was impressed not only by his work, but also by his character. Later, she asked him to marry her. Muhammad was 25 years old and Khadijah was about 40. Their marriage was strong, respectful, and full of trust, and Khadijah became his greatest supporter. Storytelling. As Muhammad reached the age of 40, he began to spend more time alone. He was troubled by the injustice he saw around him. The rich had power, while the poor suffered. People worshipped idols, but their hearts felt empty. Muhammad did not feel comfortable with the beliefs and practices of his society, and he searched quietly for truth and meaning. To find peace, Muhammad often went to a cave called Hira, located in the mountains outside Mecca. There he would sit alone for hours, sometimes for days. He thought deeply about life, about God, and about right and wrong. These moments of silence helped him clear his mind and strengthen his spirit. One night, during the month of Ramadan, something extraordinary happened. While Muhammad was alone in the cave, he felt a powerful presence. An angel appeared before him and commanded him to read. Muhammad, who could not read or write, replied that he could not read. The angel repeated the command and then revealed the first words of a message that would later become part of the Quran. Muhammad was terrified. His heart raced and his body shook. He rushed home to his wife, Khadijah, and told her everything that had happened. He feared something terrible had occurred. Khadija listened carefully and comforted him. She wrapped him in a blanket and spoke gently, reminding him of his honesty, kindness, and strong character. She told him that God would never harm a man like him. Khadija took Muhammad to see her cousin, a learned man who understood earlier scriptures. After hearing the story, he told Muhammad that the angel was the same one who had come to earlier prophets. He explained that Muhammad had been chosen to deliver a message from God. Khadija believed in him without doubt and became the first person to accept his message. After this experience, Muhammad continued to receive revelations. He was told to call people to worship one God, to care for the poor, to be honest, and to live just lives. At first, he shared the message quietly with close family and friends. A small group of followers began to form, drawn by the message of equality, truth, and compassion. However, not everyone welcomed this message. The leaders of Mecca felt threatened. They feared losing their power, wealth, and control over society. They mocked Muhammad, spread lies about him, and tried to stop his message. Even so, Muhammad remained patient. He did not respond with anger or violence. Instead, he continued to speak calmly and truthfully, trusting that patience and faith would guide the way forward. Storytelling. As Muhammad's message spread, the number of his followers slowly increased. Many of them were poor, weak, or without protection. They believed in the message of one God, justice, and kindness. This made the powerful leaders of Mecca angry. They saw the new faith as a danger to their traditions and their control over the city. The leaders began to persecute the followers. Some were insulted in public, others were beaten or tortured. Families were divided, and friends turned against each other. The goal was clear: to force the believers to give up their faith. Muhammad himself was mocked and insulted. People called him names and accused him of lying. They threw dirt in his path and laughed at him. Still, he never responded with cruelty. He continued to speak gently and showed kindness even to those who hurt him. His calm behavior surprised many people. When the suffering became too great, Muhammad allowed some of his followers to leave Mecca and seek safety in a distant land called Abyssinia. The ruler there was known for being fair and just. The believers were welcomed and protected. This decision showed Muhammad's care and responsibility for his people. Meanwhile, life in Mecca became harder. The leaders placed a boycott on Muhammad and his family. They were cut off from trade, food, and social life. For several years, they lived in great hardship. Hunger and fear were part of everyday life. Despite this, Muhammad and his followers did not give up hope. During this difficult period, Muhammad lost two of the most important people in his life. His beloved wife, Khadija, passed away. Not long after, his uncle, Abu Talib, also died. These losses caused deep sadness. This year became known as the Year of Sorrow. Muhammad felt alone and heartbroken, but he did not lose faith. Even in his pain, Muhammad continued his mission. He believed that truth would rise, even if the road was long and painful. His patience, forgiveness, and strength during these dark times would later inspire millions of people around the world. After losing his wife Khadija and his uncle Abu Talib, Muhammad felt deep sadness and loneliness. The people of Mecca had become even more hostile, and he no longer had strong protection. Still, he did not stop sharing his message. Hoping to find support, he decided to travel to the nearby city of Taif. Muhammad went to Taif with a hopeful heart. He spoke to the leaders of the city and invited them to listen to his message. Instead of kindness, he was met with anger and rejection. The leaders mocked him and ordered the children of the city to throw stones at him. He was badly hurt, and blood ran down his legs as he walked away from the city. Weak and in pain, Muhammad rested in an orchard outside Taif. There he prayed quietly, not asking for revenge, but for guidance and mercy. His prayer showed his deep humility and trust in God. Even after being treated with cruelty, his heart remained full of compassion. After this painful experience, Muhammad returned to Mecca. Though the city was still dangerous, he continued his mission with patience. During this time, something remarkable happened. Muhammad experienced a miraculous night journey that strengthened his spirit and renewed his hope. This event reminded him that he was not alone and that his mission had a greater purpose. Soon after, people from a city called Yathrib, later known as Medina, met Muhammad during the pilgrimage season. They listened carefully to his message and believed in him. They invited him to come to their city and promised to protect him and his followers. This invitation marked a turning point. For the first time, Muhammad and his followers saw real hope for safety and peace. A new chapter was about to begin, one that would change not only their lives, but the course of history itself. As the people of Medina promised support, Muhammad quietly prepared for a new beginning. The leaders of Mecca soon learned about this plan and became afraid. They decided to stop him by any means necessary. A group of men was chosen to surround his house at night and kill him while he slept. That night, Muhammad asked his cousin Ali to sleep in his bed, risking his own safety. Under the cover of darkness, Muhammad left his home without being seen. He and his close friend Abu Bakr traveled south instead of north, hiding in a small cave to avoid their enemies. For 3 days they stayed in the cave while the search parties came dangerously close. At one moment, the enemies stood just outside the entrance. Abu Bakr felt afraid, but Muhammad remained calm. He reassured his friend, reminding him that they were not alone and that God was with them. After the danger passed, they continued their journey toward Medina. The road was long and difficult, but they were welcomed with kindness along the way. When Muhammad finally arrived in Medina, the people greeted him with joy and celebration. They sang songs and welcomed him as a leader and a guide. In Medina, Muhammad worked to unite the people. The city was home to different tribes and religions. He created agreements that encouraged peace, cooperation, and fairness. He taught that all people, no matter their background, should be treated with respect and justice. The migration from Mecca to Medina became known as the Hijra. It was more than a journey from one city to another. It was the beginning of a new community built on faith, compassion, and shared responsibility. From this moment on, Islam was no longer just a message. It became a living society. Storytelling. After settling in Medina, Muhammad focused on building a strong and peaceful community. The first thing he did was help build a simple mosque. It was not only a place for prayer, but also a center for learning, discussion, and social support. People gathered there to listen, share ideas, and help one another. Muhammad worked to unite the people of Medina, who came from different tribes and backgrounds. Some had followed him from Mecca, while others were local residents. He encouraged brotherhood between them, teaching that faith was stronger than tribal ties. People began to see each other as equals, not as rivals. Medina was also home to different religious groups. Muhammad created clear agreements that protected the rights of all communities. These agreements promoted justice, mutual respect, and shared responsibility. They helped keep peace in the city and allowed people of different beliefs to live together. As a leader, Muhammad lived simply. He did not seek wealth or luxury. He listened to the poor, the weak, and the forgotten. He taught that true strength came from kindness, honesty, and self-control. His leadership was based on service, not power. However, peace was not always possible. The leaders of Mecca continued to see the growing community as a threat. Tensions increased and conflict became unavoidable. Even then, Muhammad taught his followers to act with discipline and fairness, never harming innocent people or acting out of anger. Through patience, wisdom, and strong moral values, the community in Medina grew stronger. What began as a small group of believers became a united society built on trust and responsibility. The foundations laid in Medina would soon influence the world far beyond the city's walls. As the community in Medina grew stronger, new challenges appeared. The leaders of Mecca still felt threatened and continued to oppose Muhammad and his followers. Several conflicts took place, and each one tested the patience and unity of the growing community. During these difficult times, Muhammad reminded his people to stay disciplined and to act with justice, even in moments of fear. Not all challenges came from outside Medina. Inside the city, misunderstandings and disagreements sometimes arose. Muhammad handled these problems with calm and wisdom. He listened carefully to all sides and encouraged peaceful solutions. His fair judgment helped keep the community united and prevented anger from tearing people apart. Years later, Muhammad and his followers hoped to return to Mecca peacefully to perform a pilgrimage. They traveled without weapons, showing that their intentions were peaceful. However, the leaders of Mecca stopped them. After long discussions, a treaty was signed between the two sides. This agreement became known as the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. At first, some followers felt disappointed by the treaty because it seemed unfair, but Muhammad accepted it with patience and trust. Over time, the treaty brought peace and allowed more people to learn about Islam without fear. Many began to see the message clearly, and the number of followers increased. When the treaty was later broken by the leaders of Mecca, Muhammad prepared to return to the city. This time he entered Mecca with a large group, but without violence or revenge. The city surrendered peacefully, and no blood was shed. In Mecca, Muhammad showed one of the greatest examples of forgiveness in history. He forgave those who had insulted him, harmed him, and forced him to leave years earlier. Instead of punishment, he offered mercy. He removed the idols from the Kaaba and restored it as a place for the worship of one God. This moment showed the true strength of his character. Power did not change him. Victory did not make him cruel. Through forgiveness and humility, Muhammad united the people of Mecca and brought peace to the city that once rejected him. After the peaceful return to Mecca, Muhammad's message spread across Arabia. Many tribes came to listen, learn, and accept the teachings of Islam. Despite his growing influence, Muhammad remained humble. He lived simply, dressed modestly, and treated everyone with kindness, whether they were leaders or ordinary people. In his final years, Muhammad focused on teaching moral values. He reminded people to be honest in business, gentle in speech, and fair in judgment. He taught that all people are equal and that no one is better than another because of race, wealth, or status. Respect, compassion, and responsibility were at the heart of his message. During his last pilgrimage, Muhammad delivered a final public speech. In it, he reminded people to protect the rights of women, care for the poor, and treat others as they wished to be treated. He emphasized unity and warned against hatred and injustice. His words were simple, but their meaning was deep and powerful. Not long after, Muhammad became ill. Even in his weakness, he continued to pray and give guidance. He spent his final days surrounded by his family and close companions. In the year 632 CE, Muhammad passed away in Medina at the age of 63. His death shocked and saddened his followers, but his teachings did not end. The values he shared, faith, patience, forgiveness, and justice, continued to guide millions of people. His life showed that true leadership comes from humility, and true strength comes from kindness. Today, more than 1,400 years later, Muhammad's story is still told around the world. It is not only the story of a prophet, but the story of a human being who faced hardship with patience and changed history through character, compassion, and faith.